Hey everybody, Bill and Deb.
Hi there.
It's another pretty day, isn't it?
Oh, it's gorgeous
Yes.
today.
Yeah. Absolutely beautiful.
I think it's supposed to be 79.
9. Yeah, we're going to say 80. We're going to round it off to 80. It's supposed to get to there. It's not quite there yet, but boy, it's just gorgeous.
Rain coming maybe Wednesday.
Yeah,
probably
well,
Wednesday.
you know, part of it. Before we get into the today's subject, which we're going to be discussing this again because I had some people come in and correct me on something. Before we get into that subject, though, let's talk about
Our
the
new
shirts we're wearing.
New merch.
Now, what Deb is wearing, she's wearing the new shirt for the what we refer to as the Spring Rendezvous, which will be at Itchituckney Family Canoe and Cabins near Fort White, Florida, February the 20th through the 27th. Am I correct?
I believe that is correct.
Oh boy, I got it right.
And I'm working on the itinerary. That should be up for the most part no later than the 1st of next week.
Good.
Is my plan.
Yeah. So anyway, now what I'm wearing the what we call our generic shirt, and the generic shirt will simply have our logo, you know, right here, just our regular logo right here. But all of our shirts, merchandise, hoodies included, are going to say on the back, "We're not camping, we're living." And that's what it looks like right there on the back. In case you didn't know this, I'm showing a photo of of you from your back. Yeah,
Okay.
right now.
Alrighty then.
All right. Now, what we're going to discuss here right quick, and this will be a
And
short
where
one.
do they find the merch?
Oh, go to our website,
Which is?
iRideTinyHouseAdventures.com.
And scroll down to the store and then shop now.
Yeah.
And it'll pull up the merch.
Yeah, you just, well, you have to tap on the menu, you know, with just a little
And they're asking from the date of your order to the date of receiving to allow at least 14 days. For those of you that are wanting it for the rendezvous, the sooner you order, the better.
Yes. Yeah, to make sure, because we know some of you will be leaving in advance because you're coming from quite a ways away. We've got some folks coming from all corners of the country pretty much, which we're really excited about that.
We are excited about that.
Absolutely.
We've got some people we met last year will be there, and then new people.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it all.
Oh, yeah. The campground is booked solid. There is a there is a waiting list, however, in case there are cancellations. Be sure and get on the waiting list because we did have a cancellation just the other day. Something come up, and one of our followers figured that they were not going to be able to make it after all.
Right.
So, of course, that spot was
Something
filled.
about a busted pipe at the house. Like
Yeah.
that took precedence. I swear.
But
But
yeah.
we're sorry, guys.
Yeah, we're sorry you had that issue, and we're sorry we're going to miss you.
Yes.
But like I say, it behooves you to get on the waiting list. So it looks like the entire campground this time, the entire campground is going to be filled with followers.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
We're going to visit with the lady that owns the campground in the next week or two.
Yeah.
And double check that. But
Yeah.
that's the way it's looking.
Okay. So anyway, what we're going to talk about now, let's get into this right quick. And I'm actually, before I get into this, let me go ahead and pull this off. This just gets...
Now
It's
the
just a
label
tag.
police.
Well, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to show it again here in a minute.
Okay.
But when we were going through the last video, when we did the last video and showed all the different types of adapters, we showed this one right here. And tell you what we need to do right now, rather than me speak any more about this for the moment, let's run the clip from when we talked about this particular adapter right here. This one here, I got this at Harbor Freight. And what does this one do, sweetheart?
This one
Uh-huh.
plugs into a 30 amp
Yes.
at the pole.
Right.
And then you can plug a 20 amp.
Right.
Down here.
You can plug a standard type plug into it.
And we got
Yeah.
that because once in a great while, someone needed to borrow this
Right.
part. And
Yeah.
we had this at the pole.
Yes. Now here again, let's talk about this again. Yeah, this is for plugging into like a 30 amp outlet. And like Mary likes to say, she says this one has the smiley face, and that's how she knows is that's the 30 amp outlet. She calls that the smiley face. So you've got one hot terminal, you've got a negative terminal, and these may be different. You know, I've got to look at it from inside to see. And then of course this is your ground wire up here. So you got a hot and a neutral and a ground. And then, of course, you can plug into a regular, you know, style drop cord right here. Now, still, let's keep in mind, if you're plugging this into a 30 amp outlet, then it's going to be on a 30 amp breaker.
Right.
You know, however, if you plug in the cable here, if you plug in, say, a number 12 drop cable, you know,
Drop cord.
How many amps is number 12 wire good for?
I'm going to guess 20.
You are correct. Wow. So, what that means is, of course, just because you're plugged in, again, still, just because you're plugged into a 30 amp plug on a 30 amp breaker at the power pole, you still, if you plug in a cable that is only number 12, which would be a standard drop cord, you know, in fact, they go all the way down to 16. You can get a
Well,
you can get
we
number
use
16,
construction,
right.
Construction drop cord
Now,
is number
you can
12.
actually get, you know, you can make up a drop cord, and there are drop cords available with this type of a plug-in that have number 10 wire. And if they have number 10 wire, then yeah, you can push 30 amps through the wire, but it's got to be at least number 10. So just remember, if you're just plugging in, and then also the terminals themselves inside here, you know, may not be able to take a full 30 amps either. So keep that in the back of your mind. And even so, you would not want to try to pull a full 30 amps around the clock. That's just way too much to pull, even if you had the proper size wire. That's all there is to it. So that's what this does. So you do have to think about, you know, what cables, what size wires are rated for how many amps, and so on and so forth. And technically, they're saying it's a 15 amp.
Instead of 20.
Instead of 20.
Gotcha.
Okay, in the video, when we talked about this particular adapter here, we kind of loosely used the term 20 amp
Right.
for this end right here.
And it's not a 20, it's a 15.
Yeah, technically it's a 15. Now, let me say this before I go any further at all. I definitely do not want to mislead anyone about anything, and it bothers me when I miss something. You know, it does, because there's a lot of responsibility involved there. But what we did, we referred to this as a 20 amp. And then, of course, if you paid attention to that clip that was a little less than 3 minutes long, you will notice that in the end, we did say that actually it's a 15 amp on this end. This end, of course, plugs into a 30 amp outlet right here. Now, some came in and said, and I like the term they used, they said, "Bill, you said..." Our kids used to say stuff like that. But you said, they said, you know, "Bill, you said that was a 20 amp outlet on this end." Yeah, we did say that once.
Yes.
We also came back and said, "Whoa, it's a 15.
Yes.
It's right at the end of the clip.
Because the
if you watch
20
the whole
amp
thing.
has a different shape.
Right. The 20 amp has a different shape. The 20 amp will have on one of these terminals here, rather than being a vertical slot, it'll be a horizontal slot. And then the male plug that goes into that will match that, of course, for a 20 amp item, something that truly draws a full 20 amps.
And we've been racking our brain trying to come up with what that product would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I looked it up to see what kind of products would actually use that kind of a male plug. And the only thing I could find is in one spot that I found, it said that it could be some older space heaters or something like that went up to like 1875 watts and things like that. They may have a 20 amp plug. Now, I didn't want to have to go into great detail about this kind of stuff, but it appears that I'm going to have to. So, let's talk about this a little bit more. In a typical house type circuit in a home, And when I say a typical circuit, like the circuits that power all of your outlets around the living room where you plug table lamps in, or in the bedroom where you plug the TV in the bedroom. In our house, we always had the TV in the bedroom. But, you know, those will be a standard type outlet where those two terminals will both be vertical. And now in our trailer, when we wired our trailer, all of our wiring in our trailer is number 12 wire. Now in a typical house circuit that has the standard type receptacle that you know has these two vertical slots here just like this, those are going to be 15 amp circuits. Those 15 amp circuits are all also wired with number 14 wire, which guess what? It only goes to 15 amps. It's only good for 15 amps, number 14 wire. And they will also have a 15 amp breaker in the panel for those particular circuits. So here is what I found when I researched 20 amp. Come on, open up here. When I researched 20 amp, here's what I found. It says the 20 amp plug has a prong that goes sideways, so it can be plugged into a 20 amp outlet, but not a 15 amp outlet. If you could plug a 20 amp appliance into a properly protected 15 amp outlet, either the breaker would trip or the conductors would soon overheat and catch fire. So that's one reason why a true appliance that truly draws upwards of 20 amps is going to have a male plug that has one of these terminals is going to be a horizontal slot, and only receptacles that have that horizontal slot on those will work. Now our trailer has those kind of receptacles in it. We also wired it with number 12 wire, but the main reason why we did is because those terminals, those receptacles that have the horizontal slot also are made to accept number 12 wire, and the terminals on the receptacles are much more accommodating when you're trying to hook number 12 wire to them. And that's the reason why I went with those 20 amp receptacles throughout the trailer, and that's the only reason why. But the main reason why if you had an appliance that truly drew upwards of 20 amps, it will have a different kind of male plug on the end, which will have a horizontal terminal rather than a vertical terminal on one of these two terminals here on the bottom. And that way it will only plug into a receptacle that is rated for 20 amps and that is wired with a minimum of number 12 wire, because number 14 wire is not good for 20 amps. It only is good for 15 amps. So the main reason why those are that way is so they cannot be accidentally plugged into a receptacle into a circuit that will not handle what that particular appliance is capable of drawing. And that's the reason why. Now, this is number 10 wire. This is a 30 amp male plug here, and we talked about this before. Quite honestly, in retrospect, I wish I never would have showed this particular adapter in the video. And the reason why is because very rarely would anyone ever use this anywhere. We have only used this on 2 occasions. And one of them is that we loaned it to a friend of ours who had a cargo trailer conversion that he only has 15 amps coming into it. He's got a standard power cord coming into it, and that particular campground that we all were at did not have a standard type plug for him to plug into. All they had was 30 amp outlets and nothing more. So we loaned it to him so he could still go ahead and plug his trailer in. Now, one of the points that I tried to make in that clip, and it's a shame that that might have been, the other issue might have been overshadowed by the real point that I was trying to make in that. And I'm going to say it one more time. If you were to use this particular adapter because there is only a 30 amp plug to plug into at a particular campground, which is going to be kind of rare, but it can happen. And if you have a cargo trailer conversion that you set up only to run off of a 15 amp circuit, this is what you would have to use. However, you'll be plugging into a 30 amp outlet that has a 30 amp breaker on it. The point that I was trying to make about this adapter more than anything else was, even though you're plugging into a 30 amp outlet that's on a 30 amp breaker, you do not want to plug in a regular drop cord on this end and try to pull full 30 amps out of it. In other words, you don't want to run a microwave, a toaster oven, a hair dryer, an air conditioner.
I doubt that you could. The breaker was
Yeah,
low.
you still couldn't do it. But you don't want to try. And the main reason why is because any drop cord that you plug into this probably will not have a large enough wire to handle the amount of power that you would be pulling through it. So many times I see folks just go to Lowe's or somewhere and they'll just buy a standard drop cord. They'll even buy 50, 100 footers, and they may get a drop cord that's only number 16 wire, you know, but they'll buy like 50 foot, have it all coiled up there, and then they'll plug in a whole bunch of stuff to that one cord. That's way too much to be plugging into that size of a cord. When I buy regular drop cords, I will not even look at anything. It's a minimum of a number 12 wire. But the whole point that I was trying to make, and I'm going to say it again, one more time. You're plugging this into a 30 amp receptacle at the pole that's going to have a 30 amp breaker. Don't dare try to hook up several different things on this end in your cargo trailer conversion, where you'll be pulling a whole lot more than that off of a little bitty cord that you're going to plug into this to go into your trailer. Don't do it.
No, it'll cause a fire.
Yeah, you're going to cause a fire. What my friend Johnny likes to say is, when you try to pull way too much power through too small of a cord, all of a sudden that wire becomes your fuse. Yeah, because it can get hot. And you know, then no telling what can happen. A fire, there's all kinds of things. But here again, keep in mind, if you use an adapter like this, which very few of you out there would never have a need for this, but some of you might, if you're at the right campground where they only have 30 amp outlets, do not think that just because you're plugging into a 30 amp outlet here that you can run a multitude of appliances out this end in your cargo trailer conversion. You can't do it. You're going to have an issue. So anyway, that's the whole point that I was trying to make. But technically speaking, this is deemed a 15 amp outlet because it has the vertical terminals here rather than one of them horizontal. And here again, as it said right here, and I'll be happy to provide that link if someone wants to see it, as it said right here, the main reason for a true 20 amp appliance that truly draws upwards of 20 amps will have that kind of a male plug that has the one horizontal terminal, is so you cannot accidentally plug it into a receptacle that is not designed to power it. I don't know how much plainer I can get about that. So hopefully this issue is moot and we can move on.
We can move on now. Moving on.
So anyway, but yeah, the fall, or not the fall, the spring rendezvous, you know, it's just a little over 6 weeks away.
It'll be here before we know it.
Almost 7. We would have showed you these shirts sooner, but we had trouble getting our sample shirts shipped to us. We did try to, I don't want to say build a fire, but we did try to encourage them to get the shirts to us so we could showcase them, and we could have had you seeing these shirts, you know, long before now. But they're telling us 14 days. So if you want to order some merchandise, if you're coming to the rendezvous and you want to order a shirt that commemorates the rendezvous, or if you just want to get a commemorative or a generic shirt that simply has our logo, but yet, like I say, all of them will have "We're not camping, we're living" on the back. That'll be part of our merchandise from now on. whether it's a hoodie or a shirt or whatever, you know. And all hats from this point forward will have just the standard logo, just like this.
This type, the Flex Fit.
Oh, the Flex Fit, yeah.
The others, they can put a bigger logo across
Right.
but on this one, since there's a seam, the logo doesn't show up as well. So
Okay.
we're going just with the standard
Thank you,
on
dear.
the Flex Fit.
Thank you, dear. She got me all squared away there.
Well, don't want you saying something wrong.
Well, I already have. Already have.
All right. We appreciate y'all watching.
Yeah. And we will talk to you again soon, I guess.
I guess so.
This is Bill and Deb with I Ride Tiny House Adventures. And just like it says on the back of our shirts, our new merchandise from this point forward, we are not camping.
We are living.
Y'all get out there, do some living. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.